Good evening, and welcome to the S.E.A.R Mastermind Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Majida Bay, and joining me is my brother Maurice Bay.
That is me. How are you, Sister Margita Bay?
I'm well. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. And Zinga, how are you this afternoon or this evening? Same thinking about him.
I was like, did she just do the dab? Well, anyway. So our regular MC, we don't know where he at. He MIA. So
You ain't had to
the
tell
show
everybody
must
that.
go on. I mean, it's
It
obvious,
is
right?
what it is, huh?
So tonight's topic, as you know, if you saw the description, is could you start from scratch and rebuild your current lifestyle or rebuild your current life? And so last in our last podcast 2 weeks ago, we were going over some tips, right, from Will Smith, right? Some concepts that he shared, some 5 lessons, right? 5 life lessons that he shared. And from that conversation, Maurice has shared some insight from Undercover Billionaire, where Grant
Mhm.
Cardone was speaking about or going undercover as a billionaire in a remote town, and basically had to rebuild his whole business or rebuild $1 million business in 90 days.
Uh-huh.
All right. And he challenged himself to actually build a $10 million business. And he said he didn't need the 90 days. Right. This is Mr. 10X, Mr. Grant Cardone. And so Maurice shared a couple videos that we looked at over the course of the week. And we wanted to talk about, some of the things that he shared from those videos. But just the idea of like when you think about your life right now and where you are, what it's taken to get there, could you uproot yourself, go to another remote location, and get back to where you currently are, right? Income wise, lifestyle within 90 days, right? So I'm gonna ask you, Maurice, like, could you do it?
If I had I think I could do it if I was back in the right. I don't know. I don't know. I wanted to say I think I could do it if I was pushing the right product or backing the right product, but that ain't even right because it's not about the product, it's about you, the individual. So
Yeah,
um
exactly.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That was impressive to me because each one of them, like you mentioned Grant Cardone, but there were,
Yeah,
two other entrepreneurs on the second season, and there's also one on the first season. And all of them
right.
took different approaches. All of them took
Yeah.
different approaches. The approach that stood out to me the most was the Grant Cardone approach to things. That
Hmm.
that was that was what stood out to me the most. But I don't know. I've been thinking about that a lot over the last few weeks. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Takes a lot of belief in yourself, in your
Hmm.
own principles, and in your own belief in your own abilities to
Yeah.
be able to do that. It was just so many things that I observed them do that I was like, especially Grant, that I was like, man, I would have probably been thinking so much differently at this point than he
Yeah.
was. So it was definitely a lot in
Yeah.
that for me. But I ain't sure if I could do it or not. What you think?
Well, one of the things that I took from it was like they were all proactive, right? They didn't woe is me, right? And I think the purpose of the show is really to show like that mindset. And I said, from the description, like it's not, you don't have to build $1 million business in 90 days, because you get back to, right, like if you're used to $100,000 a year lifestyle, could you rebuild your income to where you're generating what would be $100,000 per year, right? So in 90 days, by day 90, I should be bringing in 8 grand every month if I'm used to 100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like anybody, if challenged to do it, one of the things that I got from it was the idea that we're so used to or accustomed to certain luxuries, right? And most of us aren't willing to give that up to start over, right? Because we had to work so hard to get to this point. So like, why would I give that up to start over to prove something to what? So prove what to who, right? Like what would be the point in all of that? And
Mm-hmm.
so I definitely think it definitely speaks to the human spirit, right? And um Grant in a couple interviews that he did, I don't know if it was the one with Lewis Howes or the other individual, but he spoke about how like Jesus had to leave home to be able to, make the impact that he did. And a lot of us, most people, I don't know what the statistic is exactly, but most people don't live outside of like, I don't know, like a 10-mile radius of where they were
Where they were
born.
born at, like what is like salmon or something like that, right? Like salmon, like they go right back to where they've been living, where they was born at.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, oh, there he is. He decided to join us. What's up, bro?
Hold on. Let me get my lighting right. Let me get my lighting.
Yeah, work on that.
Yeah,
So,
no, but
the idea that like most people don't leave a certain
You don't venture
circumference.
out very far.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So to be a Grant Cardone, somebody who's like moved, and every time he moved, he found opportunity or he created opportunity wherever he went, definitely takes a certain spirit, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great challenge, right, to the human soul, just to have that type of that belief, like you said, in yourself, in your capacity, and if you have the faith, right, like that's the way I see it. If you had a faith, like it wouldn't even be a question. Like, yeah, put me anywhere, right?
You're right.
But a lot oftentimes people operate out of fear, right? They're letting fear dictate their decisions and actions instead of being led by faith. Like, like when you know that you I think I've heard it said before, when you if you knew that you could not fail, like what wouldn't you um
Attempt.
attempt, right? What wouldn't you even go after? Like if you knew there was no failure. And it's really a mental thing, right? A mental like the challenge is really in your mind. It's not even the outside stuff. It's just really challenging yourself to think in a different way. So,
Yeah.
welcome, bro, Miss MC Mastermind Coach Bob Bay. Nice
you are now
for you
rocking
to
with the
join
great.
us.
Hey, well, thank y'all for keeping the show going. You know, I literally just ran in the house from having a conversation about exactly that, about allowing your fears to guide you as opposed to your faith, and what
Hmm.
that looks like. You know, especially in the age now where there is so much opportunity to live your authentic self, right?
Yeah,
If you're looking for so much opportunity to maximize what you can do each day. And so I got to catch a couple snippets of the undercover billionaire, and each one of them I love the energy that each one of them walk through the day with. You know what I mean? It's acknowledging that, man, there's all of these pressures that are working their way, or looking to make this an obstacle to get me to stop moving. And I know as long as
yeah,
I don't stop moving, I can accomplish this. As long as I don't stop.
inertia.
Yeah. As long as they
An
keep
object in
moving
motion will
forward.
remain in motion.
It's like the concerns, the woes, any of the obstacles that could present themselves, if you're just moving, just I think like the juggernaut, right? Like when he gets in motion, you can't stop him, right? And so they
Hmm.
have like this juggernaut energy that I know and I will attract and I expect. And it doesn't matter what I don't have at my disposal. What do I have at my disposal, right? That I must, like, I cannot fail. There's too much riding on me. I didn't show up here. I didn't put forth all of this to not hit the goal. And the Eric
Yeah,
Thomas was talking about this on the call. Like, don't don't put forth off the effort to lose. Like, I didn't put forth all of this to fail.
yeah,
And sure, they put a timeline on. They put a block. They say in 90 days. So it's like, hey, what do you have as your tool? And all of them, they have the mind to know how to run the numbers, how to make it work. And all of them, I think, what's most important is valuable are utilizing human resources, right? Recognizing
yeah,
that the people around them will be the secret to them maximize the people and the resources around them. Like the one lady said, I need a building, right? Like, I know what to do with a building when I go into my lane with real estate and I know the timeline in which I need to do it. So I got 2 days. I was watching episode 2. That's as far as I got, right? And I only got about
Yeah.
15 minutes in, but I got a good taste, you know.
Hmm.
He said, man, I got 15, I got 2 days. Otherwise, everything else is gonna be off schedule. So I gotta make moves in these 2 days to ensure we on schedule.
Yeah.
And that comes with experience. And I think that's the other piece though. I
Yeah.
let Maurice talk a little bit about the experience piece.
Yeah,
Right.
I was just wondering, as you were talking and as Majida was talking, before this seeing this show, can you think of anything that and that's either one of you guys, as you were looking at it, that you were thinking, man, before seeing how they approach this, if I was in this same situation, I would have done something differently. Did anyone of you have any points like that? Like you watching the show, like for me, like for instance, like watching Grant. Again, Grant is the one that stood out to me the most, but just watching where he placed priority on what he needed. I heard him say in one of the follow-up interviews that, yo, I didn't need money. I never went looking for money. And this is one of the things that I got from Grant is he was like, I was looking for contracts. I was looking for connections. I was looking to make contact with people. I
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily looking for money. And I know that, and I'm thinking, if I was in that situation, I'd be thinking, look for money. But watching
Hmm.
how he operated in that situation, I'm like, man, that's just so eye opening. You know what I mean? That's just a different approach. Did y'all have any moments like that where it's like, yo, without, okay, now that I see how they act, if I'm in that situation, I might would look to that for some inspiration. But without seeing them, man, I'd have been thinking so much differently. Did y'all have any points like that? And if so, what?
I definitely, like trying to put myself in their shoes. Like if that was me, and and I know for myself, one thing I would have to do is get over my identity of being an introvert, right? Like that just would not, right? Like I can't, I'm kind of back to the point I made earlier. Like I'm comfortable where I am because I have connections and I know people, right? I have a community, right? You put me somewhere else where I don't know anybody, I would have to I can't assume this. I'm an introvert identity. Like that wouldn't work in that instance. I would have to talk to people. I would have to promote myself in some way. You know what I mean? Like I would have to
Mm-hmm.
add value, and I think that would be my main focus would be like how can I add value wherever I am? How can I be of service? Because I know he did speak about that, right? Like the other women went looking for jobs so that they could generate income, whereas he looked for ways to more or less add value so that in exchange he could ask for a $10,000
You could ask
advance.
for a piece of equity in somebody's company and something that they had already
Yeah,
built, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. What? It's oh.
One of the things that stood out to me, one that they went looking for, I don't know if it was, I don't want to genderize it, but there was definitely, it was like there was a security and I need a home base. I need to know that things are stable at home. I need a space to self care so that when I run out to well, I can make moves in my element, in my strength, and in my gift. Whereas it seemed like Grant, he was out there hunting, right?
He
And
said
both
that.
approaches, yeah, he's been that. He's done that, and both approaches seemed get to fit the individuals who they were working with their gifts. They weren't
Yeah.
trying to do something that wasn't of themselves. She was like, "Oh man, when it almost feels like I'm at home, right? Now she's in a space, she's in an environment where she can really tap into, her element. She can really plug into her element. Hey, I know it because now I have some place to go where I can reaffirm all that I know that's in me without my contacts, without my connections, without my reputation or any of those things. I can go out into the community and it humbles me, but in that humility, like I'm moved to act even greater. And I need to go talk to people. And I'm gonna attract centers of influence because my energy is gonna be on point. And Grant is like, man, throw me in a truck. And you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just
Grant is a
He's a
beast, man.
cowboy. He's a cowboy, right?
He's a beast,
He's
dude.
gonna tame the West, right? He goes out there and he's got a piece. He is seeking real estate in every aspect of the word, right? He's looking to own or to exchange for a greater piece, and it's swap up, swap up, swap up, right? So I learned a lot
Barter
about,
up. Yeah.
And
and for
where?
me, like for
Go
me,
ahead.
my personal connection with that is I look for value in people. So for me, it's like I've done this last month with my business, needed my core team that can do the things that I can't do and can do them exceptionally, right? Cool the gift. And what is it that they all have in common so that I can bring them to me, right? How do I create a lighthouse? How do I create a center of influence where everything I need comes to me, right? That's how I feel like I would move. Like I would show up in a place and I'd be like, all right, where's the center of influence and how do I center myself within that space,
Yeah.
right? Who are the movers and shakers? And I'm a headhunter. I'm gonna go straight to the like who's most visible in this environment, in this community, and how do I align myself, right, and be able to exchange and to be able to leverage what's already in place in order to build out whatever is my piece. Right.
And
And so
so
like
let
and get in there and find a gap, I think more than anything. All of them are looking for gaps in what each of the different organizations that they're working through or the people that they're working with. They're looking for gaps to fill.
And so let's talk about that. Let's dig into that a little bit because while I definitely recognize that that was a strategy that all of them employed, finding those gaps as you labeled them a minute ago, essentially making connections with people and figuring out or trying to figure out what's needed, right? Again, I'm speaking about Grant. Each person, each entrepreneur will stand out to whoever resonates with them. But again, Grant kind of what he spoke on kind of resonated with me and how he did it. Um, it seems to me that Grant's approach was, and I think I heard him say this in one of the follow-ups. His approach was to figure out, well, he didn't just start arbitrarily with the mattress company. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. He started with the mattress company because there was a lot of margin in that business. That's what made him start with
Mhm.
mattresses because the room was there. Okay. His objective was to find somebody in town that had credibility, that had connections, that had credibility, and that had connections, basically,
Yeah.
and to figure out what that individual needed and to help them accomplish their goal. So, with that in mind, and with what you just now said in mind, Bakar, figuring out the gaps in the lives of the people that were in the town, right? How do you do that? Let's talk about that. How do you find the person that can help you and bring value to them? I think that's a big I would guess that's a big piece for a lot of that's a big piece for people. Um the way I see it, that's the you walking through the door, period. That's the thing that opens the door right there, right? Finding those right people, and then okay, so I found the right people. What do I say to them? How do I engage with them? How do I get in front of them, as Bakar was saying just now? And how do I present myself as a potential asset to them, right? How do I do this? I don't have any money, but I need to make some money. So do I just approach these people and just start finding a product to pitch them? Do I approach these people, have a conversation with them, figure out their goals, like have a real conversation with them, figure out what they want, what they looking to do, and then again, I picked this up from Grant. Like the approach is like, I don't want nothing from you. What are your goals? And I think that one that you just now said is something that I might can help you with, and being willing to help them up front. I think that was a huge piece right there. Like being willing to serve up front and prove yourself without
Yeah.
asking for any money, right? Which gives now keep in mind, you're in front of a person of influence and credibility that has a problem, and then you want to help and you want to serve them. So we want to talk about that. How do you do that? But I mean, the effects, what can happen to y'all's relationship after you do that? To me, you can go in a variety of different ways. Grant chose to ask that individual for equity in an opportunity that he was going to create in their business. But I mean, if you just wanted to say, you know what, I've proven myself to this individual now, why don't you just give me a job? Just give me a high paying job. He didn't do that, but the door is open to do that after you prove yourself in this short project period. Like you don't have to just walk in the door at the lowest paying position in the company. You can say, yo, why don't you pay me top dollar? You can walk right in the door, I would think, if you don't mind working hard and proving yourself up front and paying it forward, right? So
Yeah.
so yeah, whoever wants to talk about that, okay, okay, once I know who I need to be around, like how do I get around them? How do I get around them and how do I serve them? Right? How do I get in their space? I don't want to just sell them nothing, right? I can't come to them to get. So how do I do that? Either one of y'all want to speak on that? What are some ways I can do that, I guess? How do I serve them?
I want to speak on it, but I have to take a moment to reflect on process,
Uh-huh.
because oftentimes what may come naturally to me is a task for others.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when it comes to people, I look for the value in people. And I how do I have to like I said, I want to take a moment to think about what my process is. Like what from the moment like I wake up to how do I find the people that I want to talk to, right?
And then how do you serve them?
And then how do you serve them? Of course, of course.
So
Um,
I think to that point though, Bakar's speaking about is like you gotta go with your strength, right? Like it's not something that he would have to really think about, right? Grant's been doing this for a minute, so he can go into any environment and present himself in a way, it be charismatic. It don't mean like everybody respond to him, but he speaks a certain language that's going to be receptive to the people he's trying to serve. You know what I'm saying? So he's a businessman himself. He understands the language of a businessman. He knows what that person is looking for, and he knows how to articulate that in a way. So right, like that's his strength. I'm not a Grant Cardone, right? Like I wouldn't necessarily have the language to articulate to somebody that I can add value to them. But I would absolutely, and I've done it on various occasions, like I have no problem proving myself up front, paying it in full by serving, right? I may have done what the women did and secure, right? And I love how she said it. She was just like, I'm a woman. Like, I need somewhere that I can take care of my, like I can't be sleeping in my car, right? Like, I'm a woman. And if I'm gonna build $1 million business, like mentally, I need to be in a space. So, like, you got to know yourself first and foremost in order to be able to take that task on. And in addition to that, um, relying on your strengths. Okay, what do I do well? Well, I know what I do well is I'm task oriented, right? Like I'm going to get stuff done. So I'm going to go in with that mindset. Like, how can I help this person get stuff done? And I would just ask the question, right? Like I'm good at that as well. I'm asking questions. Like I don't have to guess, or I would just go up front and be like, well, hey, listen, how long you been in business, right? What is it that you why did you get in business? Like I do this daily, when I'm working with clients and stuff like that. Like I find out what's important to them, and then I show them how I can help them achieve that. So I would just be direct in asking questions, right? I've said before, the quality of our life is dictated by the quality of the questions we ask ourselves and others. And so I would just ask the question, right? Like, what is it that, why did you get started in business? What is it that you want to achieve through your business? Where do you feel like you are on a scale of 1 to 10? Like, where do you feel like you are? Where could you use some help? And then I would say, well, listen, if I could show you a way to right, like it's using the same skill set that I've learned in my finance business and just applying it to a different business. So I think you lean on your strengths and use that. I think I would be like shell shocked at first because I'll give you an example. Today, I had a situation, this morning, I got a call back from the inspector that had to inspect my house to qualify for Section 8. Right, so she did the inspection. And she said she was going to email me the report, whatever. So I got the report this morning. And my immediate response was like defeat. Like, right? It was just like, this like, oh my gosh, like I got to take care of all of this stuff. And like the stuff wasn't big stuff, but the fact that it's another step I got to take to get through this process, right? And I've
Mm-hmm.
been working through this process for the last 3 weeks. Like I just wanted to be over, right? Like I did the paperwork. Y'all got my, financial, all this stuff, right? Like, can we just get right? But we finally got the inspection schedule, and then the inspector comes in, and now she's got to go back and re-inspect. So I got to take care of this stuff. And like one of the items was I had to like uh the garage, which is not even part of the rental agreement, but it's on the premises. So
Uh-huh.
like I have to clear the chipping and peeling paint from the garage doors. Like ain't nobody in winter trying to go there and scrape some garage doors. Right, like in my mind, like how am I supposed to do that between now and when she's got to re-inspect? But I got 7 to 10 days to get it done, so I can sit here and be like, right. But what's my goal? What's the end result? At the end of the day, I want a tenant in the house paying rent. Period. Point blank. So whatever I got to do to get to that end result, it's just, it should be a small thing to a giant, right? Like if I see, like if the end of this is what I got to go through to get through the process. One, I can look at the value. I can look at the benefit in it. All right, the house gets inspected, they know from day one that it passed the inspection. So the condition of the house when the person moved in was legit. So anything get messed up, torn up, well, look, I got an inspection report here stating that everything was, in compliance and everything passed. So they mess anything up, they gotta fix it. That's on
Mm-hmm.
them. So, I can look at it in that way. Um, but yeah, it's just like I said, lean on your strengths and focusing on what your goal is. Right, the challenges are going to come, and like immediately you might have that, like oh my gosh, like what, right? But then you got to go into what's the solution, right? This is when I called my father, right? I called him first when I got there, and I told him what I needed, and I sounded a bit defeated, and he was just like, "All right, what's the solution? What? Oh, that's not a problem, right?" Like to him, it's a small thing, right? Because that's his arena, right? He understands how to take care of that stuff. It's no big deal to him. Where I'm like, how am I going to do this? You got to
Mm-hmm.
find the resources, right? He's a resource, so that relieves some of that anxiety about getting this stuff done because I reached out to a resource. Now, in their example, they didn't have those resources, right? They didn't have people around them that they knew, but they developed those connections fairly quickly by adding value to people or offering them something in exchange. Like the one lady said that, oh, instead of paying you $400 in rent, can I give you $500 in work? Can I work $500? Do $500 worth of work a month to pay for, in exchange for her accommodations, her lodging.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all exchange. And I like Grant's idea about like money's not real, right? Like I like his concept about that. It's just a tool, right? It's just they print a bunch of it, right? Like we focus so much on getting that instead of getting what it can do for us. You
Mm-hmm.
want what money can do. So if you can cut money out of the equation, so to speak, you exchange, you barter, you offer something, like you said, a value up front and then full, and in exchange, people are willing to give you money or something of greater value to you than money, like equity. So,
Yeah.
Oh
Why do
man.
you think? Well, and I'm gonna let
Hold
you
on.
comment on this,
I
Bagar,
was
as
about to
well.
say.
Why do you think people have? Because it seems so simple, right? When you stand back off of it and observe it. Okay, money's
yeah,
not important. We know that. Cash is trash. We know that, right? You can generate your own energy. You can generate the energy and then trade up, right? I mean, we know all of these things. These are all simple concepts, yet most of us aren't applying these simple concepts to our life. Most of us are looking for a job, looking for the security piece. A lot of us are waiting on the perfect opportunity to start whatever it is that we want to do. I mean, Yasmin talks to me all the time about something that she wants to do when she gets to a certain point, and I'm like, babe, you I don't see the point in waiting. Like, you don't have to wait, right? So these things are simple that we're talking about, right? But how come, well, we can't speak for others, but we can try to, I guess, by speaking for self. So let's just try to put ourselves in that situation. It's like, all right, how come these are simple things that work? How come, like, what's the block, right? We got fear. Like, is fear causing us to act that differently? Because, like I said, I know myself, observing myself in some of these situations, I would just be thinking so much differently. But Carl, what are your thoughts? on that. And also you can continue on, serving others, serving the right connections. You can speak on both of
So,
those.
oh no, that's a great point. Great point. So, to answer your last question is these illusions, the money, the fear. I attribute a lot of that, and this is again from a point of experience, and I'm gonna touch on experience in a second, but I attribute a lot of it to exposure and environment. Right? If I walk in, if I walk into a pond and I see everything that looks like me floating on the surface, my mind's gonna be like, I should be floating on the surface, right? But if I walk into an environment where everyone around me has a job, everyone around me is living paycheck to paycheck, everyone and everything around me, even though there may be something in me saying there's something wrong with this. And when you learn to tune into that voice, there's something wrong with this. That's when you start to see opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it takes exposure to that, right? Because if everything around you is saying, "Oh, this is just how it is," whereas the voice inside is saying, "There's opportunity to build something here. There's opportunity to correct. There's opportunity to fill a need here." Right. So first, for me, it's listening to the inner voice, right? To recognize what's true and what's not in your environment, and being able to walk into an environment and recognize I'm the environment. That's what I see, it really resonates with me and these entrepreneurs is I can create the environment that I need to thrive
Mm-hmm.
here. It may not be instantaneous. However, I keep putting out my signal. I keep putting out my signals. I keep putting out my signals. And through me modeling for the environment around it, it begins to flow for me. It begins to flow with me, right? Regardless of what all the resistance is, there's going to be resistance. So expect that, but expect to go through it because your energy is going to create the environment that you need if you continue to feed that energy.
Got you.
Right. So the other piece, though, I think that's oft overlooked and that fear does get in the way of is
Did you just
experience.
say? Did you just say oft?
I did. I talk like that. Hey, your boy got vocabulary. He has a vernacular. You know what I'm saying?
You got to be special to have, like, you can have, we hear big words all the time that are SAT words. You got to be special to have a small 3-letter word that's an SAT word. Go ahead, bro. I mean to cut you off. Go
You're
ahead.
funny. But the other piece I think is critical, and this is something that I'm learning every day in my walk is you cannot um, fake experience. You can't fake it. You can run from it. Fear will definitely let you get away and you'll get experience in the opposite direction, but you can't fake successful experience. You have to build evidence of it. The reason that Grant and those know what to do in those situations is because they've repped it. They've repped it. And this is coming from the guy who thought, I could get by on talent for a long time in my life, right? That I was gifted, as they told me. They was like, oh, he's gifted. And I didn't know what to do with gifted because nobody around me knew what to do with gifted. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
They was like, oh, that's special. And just like, ho hum. As opposed to, oh, that's special. Listen, when you have that, this is what you need to do with that in order to get the most out of it. So I sought, all kinds of things to put myself into to figure out what do I do with this giftedness? Because everybody else seems to recognize it, but nobody can show me what to do with it. And it's just it comes with experience. You gotta dive in to experience and exposure. Right. So for me, and I heard this from Jamal King and from Eric Thomas Associates and their conferences is you gotta want exposure like you want that paycheck at the end of the month. You gotta want exposure. You gotta want to gain experience, right? Like you want that lotto ticket that's gonna hit. For those that are of that mindset, you gotta want experience and exposure the same way somebody wants I don't know, just whatever sort of something that you want really bad, like really
Mm-hmm.
really 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 bad, like you want that fancy car of your dreams. You got to want exposure like you want that and experience comes from doing,
And when you
period.
say, just to jump in, when you say exposure and experience, are you basically saying you got to find a way to get around that? Is that essentially what you're saying?
New
Because being around,
uncomfortable
like if
experiences.
I'm not around it, it's hard to be aware of it. But once I get around it
Absolutely.
and I see it, it's like, oh, that's what it looks like. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. It's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to read it in a book. But if you never really see it modeled, right, it becomes trial and error. It's like, okay, I read this, now I got to go test it. But what if you could walk into a space with somebody who's already tested it and be like,
And see
whoa,
it.
and see it.
It's
Now
much
you
more
can,
impactful.
it's a lot more impactful because now you have okay, you can study a lot more. Now you may have to ask questions in order to figure out what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on, in the inner workings, because that's not always visible. That's the stuff that you can read in the book, like, oh, this is what they're thinking as they're moving like that. So that, if you're doing the reading and you're doing the getting the exposures, right? And reading is a great way to get exposure because it teaches you what to look for. Reading is opportunity to learn what to look for. The reason that I'm working in the space of habit is because this idea of habit has continued to resonate as the 80 out of the 20 that gets stuff done, right? So if I'm focusing in the if I'm focusing on, okay, what is proven to get the results, and over again I'm seeing that the people who have gotten the best results mostly have done it out of habit. Like nobody was super exceptional, it's just they repped it over and over and over and over again when others decided to break, take naps, vacations, let fear and other things get in the way. The ones who were most successful kept repping. They kept growing in experience. I like to equate it to video games. You could be on the ground level, grinding, 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 and building up experience, so that when you go to the higher levels and the big bosses, it's easier, right? If you invest in experience and exposure up front, it makes the work that comes later easier, from the sense that you can handle more complex situations. See, a lot of us, we allow ourselves to get stopped with a little complexity. We allow ourselves to get stopped with a little bit of resistance. I think I saw, not to call your boy out, but your son habitually stops the first time it doesn't work. It's something he got to be broken out of, right? Like he walked to the door and it was like, it won't open. Like,
Mm-hmm.
did you try something else? You know what I'm saying? Did you look at it another way? He's so laser focused on just going straight through the obstacle. It's like when he doesn't see a way around, that's the it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a skill set that you have to learn. Learn how to pivot, learn how to adapt when the situations don't look identical. But if you have that determination with it, hey, I can go through it, and you get really good at going through it, oh, that'll carry you, some distance. But you got to be able to adapt as well when it doesn't look precisely when it doesn't show up the way your experience has taught you. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's so important to get experience and exposure so that you can be adaptable to any circumstances, find the common elements. Oh, okay, I know how to, as Majida laid out, pull from a skill set that can identify the issues that need work, and then help me to identify the resources in order to solve them. That's it. All I'm doing is pairing resources with problems. And if I know how to get good at finding the resources, go into people. That's one of my gifts. Hey, what do you do well? Oh man, that's awesome. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. Man, now my mind's got this exposure to this whole world of things that I didn't know anything about, and now I'm making connections to other things from my experience. Hey, did you know that you could do this with that? Oh no, that was a blind spot for you. Now I'm adding value, right? And I spend most of my days looking for my blind spots and getting around people who can show me my blind spots so that I can understand how to feel others.
Well, you got one blind spot, and that's punctuality.
False. I was late one time.
Just throwing that out there.
That joke fell flat.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think the exposure piece, man. I think that's huge. To hear you speak on that, and to hear Majida speak on that as well, right? Or to see Majida respond to what you're saying on that, because this internet thing, in the time that we living in right now, is the exposure piece. Like, it's never been easier before to follow whoever it is that inspires you. And by the word follow, I mean become exposed to what they're doing,
Mhm.
follow their ideas, follow their thoughts. Like
Their
you can
journey.
their journey, right? What they're going through. A lot of these people have written books. A lot of these people have social media accounts. They have YouTube videos. They have ways for you to get closer to them than in any other time in the past that I can think of. And what's really, really interesting about that is I'm just saying this is what interesting about it was speaking to you guys, is just a year ago. Like, neither one of y'all were really even on social media in a business aspect. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to pick at anything. I'm just saying that exposure piece is huge. And I think it's huge for a lot of people, like, because, the internet's, been around for a while, but it's the way to connect with people on the internet is still very, very, very new. And I feel like it is something that's still very underutilized. Like, it's still the popular opinion. Like, for the longest time, I can remember, is in my mind, it's unpopular to quote unquote meet people online. Like, you met somebody online and now you like, seriously, what's wrong? Do you know what I mean? Are they cool? You know what I mean? Like, they ain't tried nothing on you. Like, that was a very, very unpopular thing. Whereas like now, you know what I mean? It's a lot more acceptable, right? So that exposure piece is huge, but I feel like that's one of the things that a lot of people they're not, it's like, it's like the internet allows you to get close to a person, but you still want to find reasons to wait until, right? But it's like, you don't need to wait until. You can get on there, you can find you somebody, you can get exposed to somebody that was in the same position that you are, that didn't wait until, right? But I just feel like a lot of people still discredited. The same way that's the reason why I brought up the point. Like a year ago, both of you probably felt different about that subject. It's like, yeah, man, I see value in connecting with people, but I don't see no value in getting on the goddamn computer and trying to connect with anybody. But it's like, yo, it's the simplest way to get to expose yourself to the possibilities and to other people. You know what I mean? Right. So just kind of accepting this new technology that's come in and not like dismissing the new, right? Like not dismissing the new. Go ahead, Majida.
So I think that's typical for most people to do. Like when something new comes around and they don't understand it or they don't know how to use it, right? I say all the time, it's like I'm a practical person, right? So I'm wired. If things have been working the way I've been doing it, like why do I need to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I'm wired, right?
That's where everybody's wired. Don't rock the boat, right? If it ain't fix it, don't broke. All of that is the same thing. I'm gonna change anything if it's going the right way. Yeah.
If it ain't fix it, don't broke. That's
Oh,
my
excuse
boy
me. You know what
Reggie.
I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Hey, yeah, you know what I'm
What,
trying to say.
it ain't got to be perfect, right?
Exactly.
Um,
That I guess that kind of illustrates that, right? So,
so I think part of it is just a lack of understanding, right? Like I didn't know how to use it, and even now, like it's still a lot to learn. Like there's a lot of ways, and of course, you got people out here who are promoting how to get in front of your ideal client and how to promote, get to your target audience, right? Like, and this is something that Grant said in his interview with the I can't think of the show, but he said most people suffer from analysis paralysis or paralysis of analysis, right? They're confused. They don't know what to do. So they don't do anything. They're immobilized because this person is telling you to do this, that person is telling you to do that, right? So you don't know what to do. So like, all right, I need to get on the internet, but what do I do when I get on the internet? Oh, you should do a webinar. Oh, you should do a podcast. Oh, you should do a Facebook Live. Oh, you should get on your page every day and post. And okay, which one do I do? How do I do all of them? Right? Like it's like I don't know what to do. So then I don't do anything because I don't know how to move forward effectively. And that's where kind of to Bakar's point. One, you need habits. Two, coaching. Right? Like it's valuable to find a coach. But something that I think I
Habit
shared with you
coach.
earlier.
Just saying.
what'd you say?
I said habit coach. Just saying. You need habits. You need coaching. That's all I do now. That's what we do. And accountability. That's another piece. Go ahead, Majid.
um,
Shameless plug.
but I think it's before any of that. I know for me, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there as well who You got to know yourself. You have to know your voice. You got to know what resonates with you. All right, I can accept it. All right, I need to pivot in my business. I need to make a shift. Um, but I need to move in a way that's going to work for me. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to grow or develop or get better, but if I'm wired to be systematic, I need a system, right, for engaging online. I can't I can just pop online and post, here or there, but like that's not the way that it's taught to do it, right? You're told to you need to post regularly. People need to expect you, right? All this. Okay, what system do I put in place in order to do that? Well, then you need a content calendar. All right, so like I gotta, like I need the steps leading up to how to do it before I'm gonna just jump on this medium that I have no experience with other than, using it to socialize. Now you're telling me to go from socializing on social media to running a business online, and I don't have the skill set to do it. I need to develop the skill set in order for me to maximize my efforts. Otherwise, I'm just going to be spinning my wheels because I can throw a bunch of darts at the wall and see what sticks, or I can create a system that predictably is going to give me the results that I'm looking for. So that's where I would say it's important to know yourself, know your voice, and even like you spoke about when we were speaking, Stark earlier about the billion undercover billionaires, right? Like they know themselves, and until you know your own voice, every voice may seem like it has value. And when you finally get clear on who you are and what your voice is, right? Listening to your voice, then you're going to know, look, I'm only going to, all right, I might catch a little bit from this person and that person here and there, but I'm going to follow, as you said, this person's philosophy or this community's, right? I'll align myself with them because their message most resonates with who I am. And so that's what I know I've had to do. And I'll give you just a quick story, right? 2019, January 2019, 6 months after I had my second daughter, right? I made a decision that I needed to seek personal development outside of the organization that I'm a part of, right? They offer various things for leadership development and right, all this stuff, but it was just like if it wasn't offered by the company, like I wasn't doing it. So I was relying on the company to provide the resources for me. And so I was like, I need to seek out professional development for myself. And I made a decision to go to the 1% conference. It was like the beta event for that series that they eventually rolled out with. But I made a decision to go to the 1%. Yes. Right now? Okay. Thank you. Coaching. I don't
No,
know what that said.
an example of what you're talking about. Is writing your own curriculum for personal
Sure.
development. Go ahead.
That's not what I was talking about. But I made a decision that I needed to go seek personal development for myself. And I chose to go to the 1% conference because prior to that, I had been listening to and following the Secret to Success podcast, and the message that they were sharing resonated with me, right? Now, prior to that, I was listening to Ed Milet on a regular basis, right? And his message resonated with me because, right, he came from our industry. I was familiar with him. I've heard him speak, right? And he interviewed Eric Thomas on his podcast. And when I heard that interview, something from his message resonated with me. So I was like, well, let me start checking out ET. And then the more I listened to Eric Thomas, his voice started to drown out, in a sense, Ed Milet's. Not that Ed Milet doesn't still add value, not that he doesn't have a community that's most receptive to him, but Eric Thomas's message resonated more with me than Ed Milet. So I started to listen to ET, and I wasn't listening as much to Lewis Howes, and I stopped listening, and I wasn't listening to much as much to Grant Cardone, right? Like all of these voices that I had been hearing and listening to, or hear, from different places. I done read the 10X book. I've, and it kind of honed in, like whose message resonate, like in my heart of hearts, in my mind, like their message, Eric Thomas's message, and then as I connected with his community, like I'm aligned with that more so. And it still is requiring me to stretch and grow and develop and get better, but it's doing it in a way that resonates with, right. And maybe part of it is because I can relate more to them because a lot of the people look just like me, right. I can just naturally relate more to their experience, right. We spoke about that part of the experience, so I'm seeing people who look like me who are achieving at a high level. Well, I see myself in that more so than somebody who doesn't look like me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So those are the things I think that are important in being able to find um, voices of value, if you will, to find your path. You got to know your own voice and then find the voices that align with your own.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if I answered your question. So I don't
Well,
remember.
you talked about something. It's all good. It's definitely all good. Speaking about that, going back to kind of the undercover billionaire thing, I think listening. Oh well, Grant, I got my notes pulled up right here actually. Making connections with the right people, with the people that got contacts, with the people that have credibility, with the people that have industry knowledge. Making contacts with those people, helping those people achieve their goals, right?
Mhm.
Offering to work with those people. So kind of going back to that and the nuggets that we got that was offered from that show. Um, that's the reason why I kind of asked about the internet. You know what I mean? Because that's a tool that gives us the ability to make those connections. You know what I mean? And I've been using that medium a whole lot more to reach out to people and make connections, man. So it's just interesting because the whole thing is still so new, and there's still so few people that are leveraging the internet because they just don't believe it. You know what I mean? There's so few people still not leveraging the social media platforms, not leveraging, you know what I mean, the YouTubes, not leveraging the Google and all of that good stuff. And at the same time, there are people that have roadblocks that are stopping them from getting started that could be eliminated if they just understood the power in what we're doing right now. Just masterminding. You know what I mean? There's such a there's such a power in that if you understand the tools that are available right now for us to use, man. So this series, Undercover Billionaire, really inspired me a lot because it's got me thinking altogether differently. Especially where I am right now with YouTube, with trying to grow my YouTube channel and trying to position myself as more of an authority so that I can attract corporate money, right? It's just got me thinking in a bigger way, right? As far as how to get there, right? As far as how to get there, you know what I mean? So definitely got a lot of information from it. Definitely got a lot of jewels from it. But Carl, you got anything you want to add?
I'm gonna come back to the experience piece, and is that you have to prove it to yourself. And this is something that I had fought for years. Is that, man, I don't have to prove anything to anybody or even myself. Like, it's in me, and I was comfortable in that until I recognized, man, my life looks a certain way because I haven't produced any of what that's in me. So for me, making the whole shift to, all right, my focus now is on executing and maximize my experience, right? You don't get I think about, again, I'm gonna go back to video games because that's one of the models that I use for education. But like, you don't gain experience until you kill something, right? Like, you don't get any experience by just like running around with it. You know what I'm saying? You don't get experience until you go out and kill something, right? And absorb its energy. You know what I'm saying? You have to get into the fight and win something, right? And that's part of the philosophy that we teach you with habit, is like, it's training your mind to look out for the wins instead of all of the losses or the failures, right? We should spend so much time looking at the world around us and comparing ourselves to what others are doing. But if you hungry, if you really want to eat, you got to go out and create some experiences. Create, I think, is a key, is an operating word, is the operating word. Create experience, right? So, like when you mentioned earlier, about how would you navigate? How would you know where to go? How would you go about like executing your plan? And my Gita, she laid out how, hey, I have this skill set, and I can take this skill set in order to get these questions answered. And for me, it's like my nature is a gap filler. So I'm gonna go into centers of commerce, right? I'm gonna go into the marketplace. I'm gonna go into to grocery stores. I'm gonna talk to everyday people to find out where do I need to spend the most of my energy. Where's the most, you know, where are the most people and income flowing, right? And that's not something that I do consciously. It's just a matter of where do I get people. There's money's gonna attract a crowd. Success is gonna attract a crowd, and I don't like to spend a whole lot of time in a crowd. But I'm gonna go where hey people are gathering. Where do people gather? Is it online? Is it in, do I need to get on and find some events that are happening around city, right? That are hitting, people who are entrepreneurial, who are business. I'm looking for people who take ownership and responsibility for themselves, right?
I want to jump in real quick. You know where Grant went to find that? And you would
Where?
probably agree with this. He made a decision. He said that almost that exact same thing that you say. He said the place that I'm going to go to find that is to the gym. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just throwing that out there just for an example of places to be able to go. You gave the example of an online community. Like anybody can hop on their phone and go to an online community full of entrepreneurs that have influence, right?
Hmm.
Anybody can do anybody can do what Grant did. They can do the same thing, right? You can kind of look around and see, like you said, where the crowds are, where the influence
See,
at, and it's like I'm gonna go. And it's easy to do when you utilize the tools. Go ahead.
and let me talk because he has success habits. He knows where to go to find people with success habits.
Mm-hmm.
And what do most people who success? They exercise. It's a part of their daily routine. You go into any gym, especially in affluent neighborhoods, and you see them filled with people who are on treadmills and who getting it in and working out. They're not sitting around taking a bunch of selfies and things like they're getting the work in. Not saying that the people out there who are doing it, like a lot of those people are fitness models, whatever. But there are people who are in there who are getting in the work. And I like to say it's the 5 a.m. club. It's not the 7:30 group, right? Now, there is a 7:30 group, but it's not 7:30, right? There is a later group that you want to find out about as well. Why? Because people who are free of their time, they go work out when they want. You get in there at 11:30, you'll find a different crowd. But there's a 5 a.m. club. People who are out there who are getting it, right? And when I started working out, when I went to the gym, I told myself I wanted to make the connections I want to make. I want to be in there with the people who are in there at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, not the ones that are rolling in at 7.
Yeah, we
Right.
spoke
And not
about
that
that.
there's anything, yeah, not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just there's a different habit of the success. Like success leaves clues. And one of those clues is people who get up early and have a sense of purpose about their day and get it in and get it out. Right. So I'm gonna go work out and connect and network with those people because they're taking their walk seriously, more seriously. Right. They're invested. I met a guy who's um, uh, a nurse, doctor, or something. Look, I mean, in his 60s, white hair, but just crazy buff. And I'm just like, how do you, right? But he's successful in his life. I don't know what his life like his family, but he seemed happy. He's fit. He's got a lucrative career, right? That's a clue. What do you do? What's the secret, man? I got to get in here every day. Like I'm hungry. I gotta have this. If I don't do this, everything else can fall apart. So it's following the clues of success. You know, it's not just being in cigar clubs or country clubs and things like that. Yeah, those are clues, but like, what type of success are you looking for?
Yeah,
Like the
I,
woman that was in Washington, she was looking for community organizers, people who had influence and a voice in their community. That's not going to look like Wall Street all the time.
Mm-hmm. Ever.
It's going to be somebody who's walking around the neighborhood in the middle of the day talking to people. Like, yo, she speaks to everybody. Let me go talk to her because she probably knows somebody I need to know. And that can accelerate my process instead of me running around. Leverage those centers of influence.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. That connection piece, that connection piece is huge. That'll do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Just understanding that, the power of that connection, connecting with the right people, right? Serving those right people. So look,
I
shoot,
had a
hey,
question.
let's
I
say
have a
what's up.
question. So related to this um, undercover billionaire, right? Because there's something about those guys that really appeal, that really attracted to you. And I put it in the chat. I want you guys to definitely engage with that. Is ask yourself the question: like they seem like they're out of this world with what they do. Like you see it as crazy, almost super, right? But they've locked in on something in them. You know, like Grant Cardone, he's a 10x man. He figured out in him, man, I can take anything, I can 10x it, and it could create the life that I want beyond my wildest dreams. Right? ET, Eric 20, he's the 120 guy, man. I get 120 every day. Just when I feel like I'm at the wall, I push through. And that's how I finish. That's how I complete. That's how I win. Is I push through and I get 120. Right? So what's your superpower?
Just
That's the
answer
question I
you
want to
what.
ask you for those that are listening. And I want to kind of hear from y'all. I'll give you a simple. What's my superpower? I show up habitually. You know something's wrong with me when I stop showing up.
Well, what was wrong at the start of the goddamn on podcast, bro? Come on now, what's going on?
All right, let me tell the story.
What's going on, bro?
He didn't say he show up on time. He say he show up.
I
That's
I
hear
a
you.
show
different
up.
I hear you.
habit.
I hear you.
Punctuality is a different habit.
I've been punctual. Don't let one piece of evidence skew the whole data set. All right.
It
Yeah, but
can though.
right, because if this
That's
was
a fact.
somebody's first time seeing the
That's a
podcast,
fact.
that's the
That's a
impression.
fact. That's a fact.
Hey,
That's a
that
fact.
that that is true. It is an impression, right? So again, if you want to, you can make a decision off an impression, which a lot of people do, or you can study the body of work. You looking at Grant Cardone like, oh man, he's a beast. But when you study his body of work, you see, oh, this isn't out of his skill set.
But
This
why did
isn't
I study his body of work?
exactly.
No. There's an answer to that. You know why I studied his body of
Why
work?
why did you study his body of
Because he
work?
made an impression on me. Because he made an impression on
So
me,
so
right?
so here's for those that showed up late and missed me the
I just
first
messing with
what
you.
3 minutes. Hold on. Has your impression changed? Has your impression changed? For those that are listening or watching, has your impression changed? Do I seem like somebody who's not functioning, who's not
Hey, watch this. Watch this. The person whose
doesn't
impressions change. The person who think about what you just said, bro. The person's impression that changed ain't here. So when you say, "Yo, did your impression of me change by me showing up punctual?" The person that impressions changed of you, they ain't even hear you ask that question just now, because they not here. It's like, nah, this
today,
ain't what I want. Nah, you know what I mean? I'm just messing with you.
today.
I'm gonna bust you
No,
out
it's
a little
cool.
bit though. That's what we do.
It's all valid. That's the beauty of it, right? And I don't have to defend like whether I'm punctual or not. My body of work will do that for me, right?
I just like to make sure that in S.E.A.R that we demonstrate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All day.
But it's a superpower thing. The superpower thing. We ain't gonna be doing this brother argument on the podcast. Okay, we're not gonna do this. I ain't doing this with you now. I'm just messing with you. Yo, my superpower, and I don't know if this is the answer that you're looking for. I believe my superpower is perspective. I believe that is my superpower. I believe that an individual that's looking to do something that thinks like me, as I know there's other people out there that think like me, but an individual that's looking to do something that they've never done before, that is looking to understand the landscape that they're getting into, in my opinion, needs perspective. And the only way to be able to gain perspective is to be able to see other sides of what you're doing, right? So I like to position myself, and well, I don't do this consciously, but this is just kind of who I am. I'm called myself before, I'm the have you thought about it this way guy. Now, a lot of times that leads me to saying something that might not be unpopular, or might not even come across as being that intelligent sometimes. But like if your thing is perspective, then I don't want to mute. the ability that I have to bring perspective to the situation because I'm afraid of saying something that would be unpopular or that somebody else would stand in judgment of. You know what I mean?
Right.
So my superpower is perspective, right? I feel like after a conversation with me, an individual that is looking to understand, to see other sides of it, will get perspective from it. An individual that is pretty much sold on the way that they want to see things might not get very much perspective from my conversation because they're not looking for perspective. But the individual that's looking for perspective, I feel like I can totally give it to them, and that don't matter. That don't matter what they come with. I feel like I have the ability to look at the other side and say, "Have you thought about it? Have you thought about it this way?" I feel like perspective is my superpower, and I feel like my energy is my superpower. I don't feel like I was talking to my other mastermind last week, and most people think of the word coach or guide or teacher or any of those words, leader, any of those things, right? I have some of that in me, but I believe the main thing that I have in me is just my general energy, right? So my strong point is not in teaching. I might would make a bad teacher, but that's not necessarily my strong thing is teaching. But mm, I do have a power. I do have a power to. I do have a power to teach through sharing perspective. And I do realize that. I do have a power to coach through sharing perspective. You know what I mean? So the coaching, the teaching, the guiding, all of that stuff is in me, but it more or less comes out through perspective, which is most beneficial in a group setting. So again, I don't know if I addressed what you were saying or what you're looking for, but I mean, I feel like just from you said a while ago that a mastermind helps you to see yourself. It's hard to see your blind spots when you're to not see your blind spots when you're in a mastermind. So those are some things that I feel like I've observed about myself since I've been in a mastermind.
And I would definitely second that. You are gifted in being able to ask those questions and see things unbiasedly from those various perspectives. I think that's a critical piece of it is that you don't bring a lot of bias into it. You have the way that you see things, but you're very good, for in my opinion, very good and gifted at being able to step out of your own way of thinking to see it from other perspectives, or at least to be able to ask the questions. You may not embody it, you may not take it on, but you can definitely turn it around and look at it from that point of view.
Yep.
Majida, what would you say your superpowers? Plural.
I mean, I mentioned one earlier. It's just getting things done. Like if there's a task to be completed or accomplished, like I just get it done. Like I don't really ask questions. As long as I know what to do, I'm gonna just get it done. Um, so that would be one. Um, I've been told that like organization is a superpower, right? Like, cause I asked the question, I'm good at asking questions, right? That's a superpower. I don't assume anything, right? Um, so uh, what is that word? Pres- Unassuming. Yeah, I'm very unassuming. So
Why
I
is that special? Why is being unassuming special? What makes that super to you?
well because I like I'm willing to ask the question to find the answer. Right? Like I don't just expect to know something or act like I know something. I joke that like my brain capacity is not very large. Um, I can keep as much information in my brain that I can actually apply. So like habits is something that's important to me because I really don't have the capacity to like have to make a bunch of decisions. Like I don't want to have to make a lot of decisions. I just want to be able to take action. Like just
Mm-hmm.
like I brush my teeth in the morning or just like I take a shower. Like that's how I want my life to be. Like it's automatic. It's habitual. And this is something that when I was having a conversation with John, I think it was last week, and he said like we weren't created to be disciplined. We were created to be habitual.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think always maybe another power is seeking to be better, right? Like I'm always seeking to grow as a person. Like how can I improve? How can I get better? And I had an experience yesterday or the day before. My daughter wrote in her journal. I've been telling everybody because it warmed my heart. She wrote in her journal about her mom and her sister. Yeah. And I don't remember whatever else she wrote. She read the whole thing to me, everything that she wrote. But all I remember her writing was, "My mom is my best friend." And I was like, oh, like I'm doing something right, right? Like, that felt good. And also earlier this week, she's like, "Mom, I want to have a healthier diet. Like, I want to eat healthy, right? Like, and it's not something that I've been speaking to her about it, of course, but what's made more of an impact is what I've been doing. So I don't know if that's a superpower, right? Like, but like I can't be a hypocrite. Like I've never expected anything of my children that I don't first expect of myself. So I know it's important for me to model whatever it is I want them to do. And I don't want them to do it just because it's what I want. I want them to do it because it's what's best for them. But if they don't see me doing it, then how can they see, know that that's better for them? Right.
Hmm.
So no, I haven't pushed eating field green salads on my 6-year old, but she wants to eat healthier, right? Like we're now having to like debate about what she is going to take for lunch because I'm used to making her sandwiches. She's like, I want healthier. Like, thought this is what I grew up eating for lunches. But that she did write that in her journal. My mom eats salad. I like fries, right? Like, but she's aware of the things that I'm doing and how presumably it's helping me, right? Like, or it's benefiting me. And so she wants to imitate that. So uh, I think just awareness, maybe awareness could be a superpower. I don't, and crazy. And I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we do well that other people struggle
100%.
with.
100%.
Right? Like, just even what you said about perspective, right? Like this, most people don't think about the other person's perspective. They don't think about things from a different point of view. Um, and that in and of itself is something that you do naturally that other people may struggle with. So same here, like on Sunday we had our, what is it? Empowered experience with womb. And one of the things, a couple of the women when we were in our small groups said to me, we're like, I don't know how you do it, right? Like my hat goes off to you, having young children. Cause a lot of, so a lot of women have older children, right? And so I think like this is what's required. Like if you want to win at a high level, like you just got to do whatever it takes. But then when I hear people's stories, like they're in the later years, they're a little further down the path. Their children are a little bit older, so they're not having some of the challenges that maybe I'm having or some other young people are having. Um, Building a business with young children and working a full time job, right? Like juggling all these hats, and I take it for granted that like
I commend
I
you
have,
for that. I commend you for that.
you
100%.
do,
100%.
but like in my mind, I'm like,
That's the norm. That's just what I got to
well,
do.
like this is what the greats do. The greats just get it done, right? They don't make excuses. They figure it out. Um, However, when I'm around other associations and they see what I'm doing, and to them it's like, I don't know how you do it. I'm like, I thought we were all doing this. Like it ain't everybody ain't like throwing the children in the car or stopping the right like a few minutes ago, right? The baby, you just got as a mother, you gotta pay attention. She's under my chair right now, but she's in the bed and just something wasn't settled right. Like she could hear she had to go to the bathroom, right? Number two. So I had to get off camera, go handle that. And then I came back, right?
Smooth, smooth.
You
Had
do
no
what you
idea.
gotta
You just
do.
disappeared. We was just like, well, keep the conversation going.
Yeah,
I
I
was
had that
listening.
same experience as well, actually, when it came to after I got a divorce, when it came
Mm-hmm.
to, you know what I mean, my children being with me, it's like it was the norm to me. But then when I get around other people, it's like, oh, that's so special. Me and Mensa talked about that one time. It's like, I mean, it's just, I just feel like what I got to do. You know what I mean? It's just feel like what I got to do. And me and Mensa was like, I can't remember how we got to talking about it, but he was like, man, I get tired of getting credit from women or girls. This is a long time ago. He's like, but like just for knowing the normal stuff, just for like doing the normal stuff. You know what I mean? Like
But
just
it's
doing
not
what I'm
normal.
supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like I shouldn't get too much credit just for taking care of my children. Vincent was like, yeah, man, I shouldn't get too much credit just for being able to spell the word duh. You know what I mean? I shouldn't be able to get that much credit for that. You know, it ain't that big of a deal. It's just the norm. His point was it's the norm to us, but it's irregular to other people. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And that's a gap that can be filled because obviously there's a lot of there's a standard, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
Like when
status
you
quo.
when you live by a certain standard or you hold yourself to a certain standard, and it's not normal to hold yourself to a standard or to live by a code or a doctrine or whatever, right? Like that's atypical, then you look like a superhero to other people. You look like an anomaly to right, but like that's your standard,
Mm-hmm.
and you can challenge other people to live not up to your standard, but to create one for themselves. Like that's not
Yes,
normal.
yes, to create one
So
for themselves. I was thinking that same words as you were
it's
saying it. I'm
interesting
sorry.
too, because and I didn't mean to cut you off, but it really
No, no, go
reminds
ahead.
me of something that I learned from my partner, from Yvette. And I didn't used to think that I was consistent, man. I used to feel like I was all over the place. But when it came to the core habits that guided my life, somebody else was able to say to me, like, you're one of the most consistent people that I know. Like from, how you schedule your sleep. Like who does that? The way you schedule your sleep, you get up at a certain time, you do certain things throughout the day, you attack the day with a certain focus, and you do your best to follow through and make yourself available to get certain things done. And like when I'm out of rhythm with that, it's very evident. It's apparent. Like this afternoon was one of those days where I just started to feel like, man, I shouldn't leave the house because when I'm out of habit, I feel completely out of element. And for the last 3 weeks, like I have been operating almost completely and purely out of habit, and training other people to do it. Like when I recognize, oh man, it's easy for me to show up when there's a need, right? When I get into my superpower, when it comes to filling gaps, it's easy for me to show up and be like, oh yeah, this, and that. If we pull all of that together, we can fill this gap and we can all build from a stronger foundation. And for other people, it's just like, oh, I've been having some coaching appointments this week, and I've been hearing people say stuff. Oh, like you really on to something. Like I think you on to something. Like I don't. And for me, it's just like I've been on to this. Where y'all at? Where y'all been? But it's just like for others, it's new to put
Exposure.
certain. Yeah, it's like I never saw anything, and that's one thing I always look is I look for things that I've never seen done in a certain way. I'm constantly keeping my eyes open, like, ooh, I've never seen that done like that. I want to know more about what's happening there because there's a there's something being born, is the way I look at it, right? And with everything being born, there's like tons of opportunity that's gonna surround it. What was that breath
I'm
about?
sorry. No, nothing, nothing. I'm listening to you. I'm looking. I'm waiting for a message on my phone. I apologize. Go ahead.
Um,
I didn't get it.
and it comes from my like something my Gita mentioned earlier is self study, is knowing yourself, is really dedicating time, energy to listen to all that is a part of you. From the physical to the mental to the emotional to the intellectual to the spiritual, and it takes modeling to really get the vibration of that. It takes being around it, right? There's something when you get into a symphony, when the music hits you, that's not something that you could simulate in your mind, right? You feel it all through your cells. You know what I mean? And it's like that when you get exposed to different things. So you learn your super. It was something I think I don't know if it was Grant Cardone or someone else. They talked about it might be Ed Milet. I think it was Ed Milet in his book in the Wonders. Think about your superheroes in his book Max Out. He said, think about the people, think about the superheroes that you were drawn to growing up. Right? For me, like Spider-Man, And pretty much any hero that had regenerative abilities, I was like, I'm that guy,
I was never
right?
attracted to superheroes growing up.
That's
Comics,
interesting.
Batman, Superman, none of that stuff. But
That's
He's
anyway.
a Gen Xer. They're cynical.
we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. But it's recognizing, okay, when I would look back at all of the heroes that I was drawn to, like the Incredible Hulk, right? That I have just this immense energy that I could call upon in order to smash anything in my way. Like Wolverine, I've got these unbreakable claws that I can slash through anything, and anything that harms me, I heal. You know, I heal or regenerate, or what's the word I'm looking for? Another R word, but resilience, right? I have this just resilience and sturdiness about me. It's in my mind. Spider-Man, you know, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's just out there being himself, helping people, but fumbling through life. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Fumbling through his relationships, fumbling through his connections, always getting smacked out of the sky, but still able to use his tools and resources to maximize his successes and opportunity, and not winning every battle. You know what I mean? They were just recognizing that, okay, the traits of these superheroes are things that resonate within me because it's something that comes natural. Like when I get knocked down, I get back up. Right? That there's a rage and a fury to win in me and to stomp out evil like that's in the Hulk. You know what I mean? Right? I'm not gonna get on my holy platform tonight, but it's again, when you ask yourself, who are my superheroes and what are their qualities? What are their characteristics? Right? Who have I looked up to? I think Majida, one model for her has been our father, who pretty much every day of life he woke up and he put in work. That's what he did. He woke up, he went to work. Right? I knew that wasn't my superpower growing up because I didn't love what he did. And when he invited me to do what he did, I was like, I'm not about that. But when I did find what I love, I realized it was effortless to put in the work in order to do it. But I realized, man, I was purpose driven. I wasn't just task driven, right? It required me to have a meaning behind what I did in order for me to really put my all into it. I had to be striving for something and looking for an outcome that would pay more dividends than it would pay more than just me. Selflessness was something that resonated with. Benevolence is something that resonated with me. That man, everything that's in me, I want to give to the world. Because to me, that would show, hey, I lived this life worthy of something, that I was useful, if nothing else. Right. So it's figuring out again within yourself, if you want to be really successful, well, use what you have instead of trying to find. That's what these undercover billionaire, right? They weren't given the title billionaire. They earned the title billionaire.
That's what's up. So watch this.
None of them are billionaires.
What's that?
Well, Grant is he's not a liquid billionaire, but I mean, I heard him say several times he owns over $1 billion in real estate, or he controls
Yeah.
over $1 billion in real estate. I think that guy, the first Glenn Stern, he's supposed
Hmm.
to be a legitimate billionaire. The one that went around the first season. I could be wrong about that. And you know what's interesting about that? I'll let you go ahead. But you know what's interesting about that? If you go to his YouTube channel, he got like 1,000 followers. That's so interesting. When I saw that, I mean, 21,000, which is what I got, is not a huge deal, but it's like I got more subscribers than him. Now that don't mean nothing, but the reason that was relevant to me is because this dude is a billionaire. He's a billionaire with I was just talking about that a minute ago. Like not leveraging these tools to get close to the people. He's a billionaire, and anybody can follow him that wants to,
and nobody's paying
and
attention.
nobody's following him. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's interesting.
But
It's
some little
very
girl
interesting,
is the
man.
number one on TikTok. You know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
nothing wrong with nothing with
no,
TikTok
no, no.
creators, but
What,
yes, I agree with you. I
it's
agree
what
with
is the
you.
content? You know what I'm
I
saying? What
agree
is the
with you.
content that people are consuming?
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, man. It makes me ask the question, and I don't want to get off on this because it's 10:30, but it does make me ask the question: what is wrong with us? Not us as in us, but us as in the people. Like we got some responsibility in this as well. You get what I'm saying? Like the news wouldn't put the news on that they putting on unless we're giving them our eyeballs. The things that are showing up on our timelines ain't showing up because that's what the timeline is giving us based on what we used to looking at. You get what I'm saying? So if you're not being exposed to the things that you want to, that you think you need in your life, it's like, yo, as a YouTuber, I see that firsthand. It's like, why are so many people attracted to the entertainment piece, but the education piece, it's like you just can't, you know what I mean? It's just not as attractive. And it's one of those things that you're never gonna get an answer to it. It's like saying, why is winter cold and why is, you know what I mean? There's an answer to that, but you get the point that I'm saying. You know what I mean? The point is, it's like Jim Rohn said, like, don't, they ain't using even asking that question because there's no answer to
Yeah.
it. But it's so interesting to watch that. This dude is a billionaire with 1,000 followers. If he, what I do when I go to a YouTuber, when I'm looking at a YouTuber's channel, like you can just look at their comments and see whether they're actively engaging with their community or not. And what I didn't see is that, you know, when I look down in his comments, because he don't have much of a following, his comments are not filled up. So he might have a video with 8 comments on it. Now, if it's a creator that's regularly interacting with their audience, then you can easily click those 8 comments and see he liked all of them. So I guess what I'm going to is you could, and if in a situation like that, you could literally leave a comment on this man's video and he might see it and respond to it. You might actually forge a relationship with this guy just based on that. But like I said, nobody's looking. You know what I mean? They're looking for the crazy stuff. They're looking for the drama. They're looking for the
And
entertainment.
what I'm
That's
interested
what's
now in
popular.
finding out is who's following him,
Yeah,
right?
well, you got
Successful.
the ability to do that too.
Who's following?
Go
Who's
right to his
following
joint and say,
Susan?
and go check each one of those pages out. You got the ability. Yo, man, it's crazy, man. This other guy that's in my other mastermind, he's a LinkedIn guy, and that's essentially what he does. He can teach you if you look into to he can teach you how to. You've identified the business that you want to link up with. He's like, okay, let me show you how to take that and go to LinkedIn and find the exact people and interact with the exact people in the business that you need to. Same thing you would do on Facebook, but
You
just
talking about
LinkedIn is
Rob?
so unpopular. But LinkedIn is where you can find the execs of whatever company and you can get in front of them there. You get what I'm saying? And he's like, that's kind of what he teaches people how to do. So, you know, but
Is that YB?
what's that?
Is that YB?
I'm 45. I don't know what YB is.
Okay. If it was him, you would know.
Okay, no. But the
But
point
I
that I
know a
was,
guy like that too. I'm actually part of a LinkedIn challenge, and he does that as well, teaching
I
people how to
got you.
connect with others on LinkedIn.
This guy's
And
name is
you know, it's,
Harrison Barron.
okay,
So I don't know about YB. I ain't
okay,
sure.
somebody to Harrison Barry.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
and something I actually saw on LinkedIn the other day that he reposted was that, man, there's over like 300,000 or million or whatever the number is up there. It's a lot of people on LinkedIn. Only like 1% of them are posting.
Yeah.
Meaning, there's a lot of opportunity to get your content in front of the audience that's out there.
Mm-hmm. And that's that
And when it,
corporate audience on LinkedIn too. Absolutely. Yeah.
people who are looking for opportunity or people who are looking to level up, right? People who are looking to present themselves in a certain professional space, you got a real opportunity to get your information and your opportunities in front of them. If that's part of your audience.
So real quick, man, looking at the time,
Mm-hmm.
how was your week? We normally start the show off with kind of, you know what I mean? Like, how was your week? And just a brief synopsis. How's your week been so far?
So the weeks are going well. This week, really helping my community with finances and fun. So figuring out how finance and fun fit into their life. And the same thing, modeling for me. So, last Friday I did my financial checkup with my Jita. Definitely get on track. Get on track with my Jita. Put a little link in the chat. And it helped me to again model what I'm sharing, right? So being in integrity, being in alignment is doing what you're sharing with others to do, And I was telling them, man, there was a time. I'm gonna answer your question, but there was a time where I kept a calendar and I could forecast, for a year and a half what my expected resources would be, like day to day. I gotta know how much money was in each account, right? It was literally like counting every penny and adjusting it on the fly daily with every transaction I made, because I wanted to have that level of discipline and knowledge and awareness. Now, since then, I've taken a different approach that I I take inventory of my resources, but now I'm more focused on where my energy is going and what I'm doing habitually, right? As my G to talk about automating my life. But my week is it's been ramping up because I've been working toward business launch next week, habit to greatness, and so putting in all of the things in place, having a online presence for when I get the message out to the audience. Hey, there's a following to this. How do I transfer them to the next stage? How do I keep them growing? How do I keep them fed? And so, like, this week has just been it's been amazing to get the feedback, to get the outpour in front of the community. We're growing over at Habit to Greatness. Check out Habit to Greatness, the number two greatness on Facebook. We got a page, Habit Nation, also on Facebook. That's the group. That's where we're going to be housing some of our content moving forward. But it's really been, for me. It's just every day is unfolding. Every day, I'm growing, and I put out a challenge to my group this week to say, hey, think of yourself, imagine yourself a year from now, right? And this is in the context of every day they've been showing up for themselves. Every day they've been reporting wins. Every day they've been seeking and expressing what they need accountability with, and every day they've been tracking the habits that we're working to help them form in alignment with who their values are, and the vision that they're becoming. So I challenge them today to come up with a vision for themselves a month from now and a year from now, right? With the context of, you kept showing up like this every day, where would you be, right? And I got the seed of that from here, what we created here with S.E.A.R. Just showing up every Tuesday, and that little bit of accountability. And I started to crave that. And me being a creature of habit, I'm saying, after about 3 months, I was like, all right, this habit is a part of my life now. How much more could I of value could I create if I was doing this every day? And that's where Habit of Greatness came out of. It's literally, I needed accountability, so I created accountability and presented it in a room of people who were also looking for accountability, right? And out of 1,000 people, there's about 50 people showing up. It's not a bad ratio, right? What is it, 5%? And I didn't invite
Mm-hmm.
all 1,000 of them to the daily events, but I invited all 1,000 of them to the weekly. And about, yeah, every week so far, hey, about 2 or 3 new people show up. But now it's starting to get to a point where there's people I don't know that I didn't directly reach out to that are showing up, and that to me is exciting because now sphere of influence is expanding, right? And that's more opportunity to be able to leverage, to network, to connect, and to grow, um, more and more to who I'm becoming. So,
Got
how
you. Got you.
it was amazing, and I expect every day and every week moving forward, as long as I'm showing up, to be just as amazing.
How's your week been, G?
Hmm.
It's been productive. um, I'm all about producing, so yeah, it's been productive. And I was sharing with you earlier this week. I actually have done less work to generate the activity. Like I don't feel like I've done any work really to generate most of it. Um, it's been people reaching out to me or being referred to me, um, or people leveraging me to get. So yeah, I had, I think, 3 appointments today. One, two, three. I got 2 tomorrow, 3 on Sunday, and yeah, it's just be. It's what's the best way to say it? It's being a resource. I shared this with John a few weeks ago that, like, it feels good being able to be a resource for people. Um,
I call it a trusted advisor in your space.
sure,
That's what I call it.
yeah, but I guess because I'm resourceful, people see me as a resource. Like they feel like they can come to me and I can help them result, like my business is finance, right? So typically I'm helping people with a budget or a debt elimination strategy or building up their emergency fund or cash flow. And I'm solution oriented, right? So if they got a cash flow problem challenge, right? A cash flow challenge, I'm like, all right, so I'm like working with a prospective client on starting a business, right? I'm like, all right, you need to generate more income, right? Like at the end of the day, like that's your challenge. There's only one way to change your discretionary income: increase your income or decrease. I mean, sorry, there's only one way to change your discretionary income: increase your income or decrease your expenses. And right now, based on what you're bringing in with income, that covers your basic necessities. So there ain't really nothing to cut, so you just got to increase your income. What do you do, right? What do you do well that's difficult for most people, right? Like, it's the questions that I'm asking. Like, what do you do well that's difficult? Well, she said she can cook. All right. You can sell dinners every 2 weeks instead of go to make a certain amount to fill in the gap, So it's enjoyable to be able to help people move the needle in their life,
It's gratifying.
So yeah,
Can I
absolutely. It's
testify for the
rewarding.
moment? Because
Sure.
5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I came to Majida with the same problem, the exact same problem. She said, "You need to earn more income," and I've been working my butt off to figure out how to answer that along with her, and it's got it. So I just wanted to thank you and just put out that endorsement. Like, she knows what she's doing in her space. She operates in her lane. Anybody that I send to her, like, no, I'm sending that with the strength that I'm here today because she challenged me to earn more. I'm here today in the position I am, you know, about to sign up. I'm not gonna spoil it, but but we got something big coming because she challenged me to solve that problem in my life, and I took it from the root. I went to the root. I was like, okay, what's the problem? Why am I not earning more income or spending all that I earn? And was able to over time. It wasn't easy, but definitely over time was worth it to dig down to the root of my problem. And what I found was the answer was use my natural gifts and talents in order to serve the market. Right. That's why I tutor. Right. And I'm one of the best tutors on the net in my lane, in my skill set. Right. I got a industrial systems graduate student that I'm working with. Never saw the work before, but a little bit experience, and I know, okay, yeah, I can help you with this content. Right. I've got pre-algebra students who, 2 or 3 years behind. And it's like, all right, let's put together a plan or a structure that can help you move forward, right? And I enjoy doing that because I like helping people in those spaces. And those are things that came easy to me when I was their age, right? So, hey, position myself to be able to help them. It's a stream of income. And as I mentioned earlier, hey, being a habitual person, being somebody who shows up and be accountable, okay, I got a whole group of 50 people, 40, 50 people now who are showing up because I'm modeling showing up twice a day. There's one guy who's been there 26 days since day one with me. He done showed up on every morning and every evening call. As a matter of fact, he might actually have me beat. No, I showed up tonight. That's right. I showed up tonight, even on this call. I showed up.
You
Because I
supposed
know
to.
somebody, huh? And
You
because I know,
supposed to.
no, not on this call. On my accountability call at 9:30
Mm-hmm.
earlier tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That one just ended.
You supposed to.
You know,
Hey, let me tell you something, bro. I could have worked tonight. I didn't work. You know why I didn't work? Because I had to be here. Like, I ain't even lying or exaggerating about that. Like I started going to a new place this week, and the place, to keep a long story short, is open later than the place that I was going to, which means every day when I get back from doing my work at about 4, I actually got time to go do an extra load. every day because the place is open later. So I was thinking about it, and it was like 4:30, and I was like, if I leave now, I'll be getting back right at 9 o'clock based on how far I got to go. But it was like, nah, if I can get back in West Point at 9 o'clock, and then think I'm gonna make the show as well. So you know what I mean? I didn't go. So I could be here to do the show.
All
So
right, all
yeah.
right, all right. I won't be late again.
I won't
It
hit
could
on that point, but okay, I'll take that one.
have, right? Like I told you yesterday, I had the inspection. Right. So you asked me how my week's been. It's been productive, right? There's been a lot of things going on, but things are getting in order. And I had the inspection yesterday, right? I got the report this morning. I called my pops, and Mommy. No more juice. All right, you have chips. I called my pops, and he was already off work. So, he's like, yeah, we can go up there tonight. And then we made a decision to go up there tonight. And then I thought about it before I went to his house. I'm like, oh, we got the podcast at 9. All right. And so I drove over there because I still had to pick up my daughter. And I was like, hey, we're going to have to go tomorrow because I got to be at the podcast, right? I got to be back at 9 o'clock to do something. I got to be at home by 9 o'clock. And he's just like, I mean, it's 4 o'clock now. So, it'll take an hour and a half to get there, 30
Yeah,
minutes
no,
to
you
get
don't get it.
No. We did the math, right? Hour and a half to get there. We get there by 5:30, 30 minutes to unload what we got to unload, check out whatever, get back on the road at 6. We'll be back by 7:30. And he's just like, there's no traffic, right? And I was like, all right, yeah, so add another hour for traffic. That's 8:30, right? Still giving me a buffer. But I'm like, I gotta be home by 9, right? And I gotta get to your house, get the children, get home, and get set up, right? So I was like, I need to be back by 8. Like we got it. So we made it. We got down there and
Hey,
Yeah.
back.
and I have a 5-minute grace period, right? So I got
No.
here. I
Yeah, we
got
can give
here
you
with
that. We can give you that. We can give you that. We can
a
give you. We
five
love
minute
you
grace
that
period.
much.
I
Yeah.
measured
I,
it.
I have to be here, right? Because it don't get started if I don't set, you know, I set up StreamYard in the car on the way back on my phone just so, right, I
That's
had the
illegal.
notice. Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
do anything is how you do everything, right? Like
Yeah.
I show up because other people
That wasn't
rely
the
on
time
me,
for that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Other people rely on me, right? Like that, and it might be some people may see it as like a weakness, but it's a strength. I know if I want to get something done, I have to attach meaning to it. I have to attach um like it can't be for me. Like it can't just involve me. I know that when I want to get things done, I gotta attach somebody to that result, right? Like I gotta be. There's a purpose behind what I'm doing, and so I value, right? I do what I do because of my relationships with people, right? In general. So because I value my relationship with you all, I make sure I'm here on time, make sure everything's set up, ready to go, links out, everybody can get on board. But
I
anything
appreciate
in my
that.
life, the same way, that I do on my job. I do what's required on my job because I value the position that I'm in or the responsibility that I've been given. And I don't take for granted that somebody's giving me that and they trust me, right? Like it really comes down to a matter of trust. Like people trust me to do what they've assigned me to do or to do what I've obligated myself to do, right? That's why I show up on 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, rain or shine, with or without a co-host. Like I'm gonna show up because people are expecting. And to your point, what you were speaking earlier about social media and the internet, people want not something, someone per se, but they want something they can believe in. People need somebody they can trust, right? So that's really what it's about, right? When you show up on time consistently, when you show up and people can rely and expect that from you, it's predictable. They're willing to trust you. If they trust you, they like you. If they like you, they're willing to buy from you.
They
Right?
possibly willing to spend some money with you. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I got
you
no
know,
other reason to even be here right now. My wife ain't here. My children ain't here. I got no reason to be here right now. So I appreciate y'all being here because, like I said, I'm missing money right now. Okay, literally, right? Um,
I made some money on the way home from Norfolk too. I was actually doing an application with a client in the car on my phone while my father was
That's what's up. That's what's up.
the business that I'm in, right? You can do business anywhere. I forgot about that appointment, but my associate like called me like, "Are you on the?" I was like, "Oh crap!"
Mm-hmm. That's what's up.
It all worked out.
I had a pretty decent week this week. Nothing really exceptional. Nothing too exceptional happened with me this past week or the past 2 weeks. But I mean, it was still a pretty decent week overall. I got a couple of emails written out. I got a couple of more emails added into my automation sequence. So right now, as I'm emailing people, I'm also putting the email into the sequence so that as people come onto my email list, I won't have to worry about writing them emails as I think about them. It's all set up in automation. So I'm doing it right now as I think about it. But as people still continue to come on to the list, then they'll get each one of these automated emails. I got a click-through rate. I got an open rate. I got all of that stuff on my in my email automation joint, which is huge because it's just like being in sales. Like the biggest thing is, okay, I did 100 shows and I sold one. So now I know my closing average, even though you might say it sucks, but I know my numbers now. My closing average is 1 out of 100, and on that projection, I can get some predictability as far as what results to expect moving forward. So, I got a click through rate on my emails. The community, yo, man, it's interesting what's going on in the community, man. Okay, so I have not been promoting the community like I should be. Okay, I have collected out of the 600 email addresses that I have. I want to say 210 of them were people that went to a landing page from the call to action of, if you want to get in the community, if you want to keep up with the Helpful Trucker community and how I develop the community, go to this page, enter in your information. And about 200 people out of the 600 have responded to that call to action. I haven't written those 200 people the email yet. So I'm saying that to say that, the community, I'm just, in a certain sense, I'm struggling in the community, but, it's my fault. I haven't promoted the community. I want to make that clear. I'm not struggling because there's no value in the community. It's struggling because I haven't promoted it. And it's people that have been asking to keep updated on the community, and I still haven't promoted it to those people. My fault, right? So, but anyway, I need to get the emails out to those people because that list is still building. And I'm helping people in the community, right? There's a few conversations going on. There's a guy, Chris S.E.A.R, that's in the community that let me know yesterday that he's having a problem doing straight backing. So while I was out yesterday, I recorded a little short 5-minute video showing him straight backing, showing him the mirror and me changing, adjusting the steering wheel and backing in and all of that good stuff. He fell in love with it. When he saw it, he was like, yo, I appreciate the shout out, this, that, another, da, 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 da. Mike Selkridge, which is another guy that's in the community. So like all of these, so I put the video up on YouTube for the people in the community, and I put it up in the community too. But then the people in the community started commenting on the YouTube video and essentially validating me or verifying me. So I mentioned in the video, hey, I'm doing this video for somebody that's in the community, but I never put the call to action. Yo, listen, if you want to, do more stuff like this with me, come in the community. I don't like to pitch my stuff like that. I'd rather throw it out there so that you know what exists. And then I want it to be done. I want other people to talk about what I'm doing. So the people in the community, though, that's what they did. Though they went on the post in the comments and started commenting, letting know, hey, look, man, Mr. Bay, he doing this for us in the community. He doing that for us in the community. Chris is like, yo, I really appreciate the video, the shout out. And I don't know how, but Chris's brother, I just read his comment a few minutes ago. He's like, yo, I'm S.E.A.R's brother in truck driving school. We graduated together. And and it's like he wants to come in the community now. You know what I mean? So and Chris, so I've got like 3 people in the community that have kind of really been helping me build it. Chris Ward, Mike Selkridge, and S.E.A.R, right?
Shout out,
So
shout out.
nurturing those relationships with them is cool, because I think once I'm like, now is the time to make sure I start promoting these groups, because I do have a few people that will help me to maintain interactions and all of that good stuff. To help me and maintain engagement. So that's, I had kind of decided that I wanted to shut the community down, but I'm not so sure about that. You know what I mean?
Don't rush to shut stuff down. You gotta give it a chance to live.
You're
first,
exactly
man.
right, man. You're 100% right. I switched when I when I started off on the plan. I started everybody off on a plan that is 30 days for free, and then it switches to $9.99. I started the community January the 15th. So February the 15th marked the first group of people coming up on their 30 days. February the
Mhm.
14th, I changed the membership from 30 days free, $9.99 to free, because I ain't feel right charging nobody. I'm like, I ain't got enough volume in this community yet, right? I didn't realize that on the user experience end, that when I switched up the plan, everybody in the community got basically kicked out because I changed the plan. But they had to rejoin. And so everybody has rejoined afterwards. And you know, I mean, it's free still right now. But the fact that they got kicked out and came back again, it's like, okay, these people want to be here. You know what I mean? So that's good. So it's you know,
And
it's
they would have been paying had you not changed.
You're exactly right. You're 100% right. Me and Yasmin talked about that. And this goes, you know, like, man, a lot of this stuff with me, man, got something that, I ain't afraid to say this. And I know this probably sounds weird coming from me. Maybe it does, maybe it don't. I got self-esteem issues. Like, seriously. I got, and I need to
Next
work this.
podcast.
Okay.
That's what we're tackling.
Okay. I have no problem saying that. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yes,
true.
everybody.
I've
We're gonna get it
observed
all
this
out.
from myself, from being a part of the mastermind. It's like I expect more from myself than these people are expecting from me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I don't want to charge people for something that the value is not there. But on the flip side of the coin, I could be shooting myself in the foot by thinking that the value ain't there, even though it is really, really there in some cases. And I know that my own self-esteem is an issue with that. I know that that's a huge issue in my life, man. It really is. It ain't even about how other people look at me. It's about how I look at me. I mean, I gotta really do some work in that area right there. But so the group thing is going fine. I did a lot of reaching out and connecting to other companies this week. I got connected. I reached out to Audible. I'm like, Audible would be really, really cool for me to promote as an affiliate, right? They pay you just for getting people on the free trial. Truckers are always on the road needing something to listen to, right? So I signed up for Audible. I'm waiting for a response back from them now. I signed up as an affiliate for Epidemic Sound, which is where I've been getting my YouTube music from lately. Um, I got hit up by RTS, which is a funding solution for truckers. They offer fuel cards, discount fuel cards. They also offer freight factoring as well. And freight factoring, just to keep it short and simple, when you run a load as an independent owner operator, it's normally sometimes 30, maybe 45 to 60 days before you get paid. Well, when you use a freight factoring company, the freight factoring company pays you right away when you get done running the load. You turn your bill of ladings into them, and they wait on the money to get paid from the person you ran the load from. That's what a freight factoring company does. But these people, RTS, specialize in fuel cards and freight factoring. They actually just did a partnership, which is on Google right now, with with pilots all across the country, where they offering discounts and all of that good stuff. It's got like a conglomeration of what Pilot and what RTS offers. But they hit me up and they like, yo, let's do this affiliate thing. You know what I mean? So I just filled out an affiliate agreement with them. And these affiliate agreements are interesting because they actually have something for you to sign. It's actually an agreement, which is what made me ask you about those contracts and stuff that I mentioned to you the other week, Bakar. But yeah, I mean, I actually had to sign, y'all heard me say a couple of weeks ago that I want to make my channel more attractive to corporate money so that I can so I can start making those connections. And I ain't saying just signing up for affiliate agreements is me doing that, but it is going in that direction. It absolutely is going in that direction. You know what I mean? So I got like 3 or 4 people that I'm waiting for on right now back to hear from them about, I got RTS, I got and a couple of other affiliate products as well. I found a truck on Facebook Marketplace this week, but I can't get the freaking guy. He told me the truck is still available, but I can't get him to respond now. I'm prepared to go to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania tomorrow and pick up this truck. It's $7,000 for a 2001 for a truck that's running. You know what I'm saying? And it's a decent looking truck. So I'm waiting for that's what the expression was for a second ago, Bakar. When I looked at my phone, I've been waiting on this dude to respond to this message all day. And you know how when somebody is trying to send you something on Messenger, you can kind of hear it on your end. It'll go bloop, and you be like, "Yo, what's going on my phone?" And you'll see like somebody's typing. You'll see that. I've been hitting that joint on him all day. I open up the message and then hit the. So hopefully he'll hear something and be like, "Yo, what's going on my phone?" Because I'm prepared to go pick up this truck from Harrisonburg, Pennsylvania tomorrow. It ain't but 4 hours away, and I drive 4 hours away every day when I go out to Cascade. So, but yeah, man, had a lot of good things going on this week. Got a couple of YouTube videos up, helped some people by name, impacted a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Reached out, made some affiliate connections on my for the YouTube thing. So everything built my list, wrote some emails, got a lot of stuff done this week. I hate to drag that out that long, but got a lot of stuff done this week.
Hey, and I'll just leave you with this thought. What would Grant do?
Yeah. Damn. How you had to mess that up like that? Damn. My thinking is so small, man. I got to work on that, man. My thinking is, I've got to work on that. Yeah.
And I just to piggyback on what you said in terms of like what you spoke out, that's your evidence.
Yeah.
Like that's you know what I mean? And the thing is, like you just gotta be aware or conscious of you said you wanted X, Y, and Z and it's starting to
Starting to show up.
manifest.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and that's understanding how powerful your words are, right? And that's what's like helped me. I know that when like I've had a challenge with speaking things out or writing things down, but when I have and they almost immediately show up, it's just like, yo, like it's scary almost like how quickly you can manifest things simply by putting it out there. And all the people talk about people have a fear of failure. I think I truly have a fear of success, right? Like it's scary to me, like how successful I could be if I just would just let go, right? So I just try to stay under the radar or try to stay,
I
because
second
it's
that
just like,
emotion. I second that
you
emotion.
know, it's this idea that, like, of course, there's a responsibility that comes with that, and just like anything else in your life up to this point, you'll face that challenge, you'll address it, you'll deal with it with grace, with class, right? All of that. Like you're going right, but you fear, right? You're like in your mind, you're thinking that will I be able to handle it? Well, you've handled everything else up to this point, and your character is intact, right? Your value system is intact. And so like success is for your taking, right? Like it's meant for you. And so the more right you speak things out, you say what you want, it's going to show up. So like don't be surprised when it does.
Mm-hmm. Good
So
stuff. Good stuff. So is that what we doing next week? Is that what y'all want to talk about next week? Or at least
I
part of the
think
show?
that's a huge topic.
The self-esteem
Especially
thing?
and when
Got no problem with it.
we talk about accountability, man. That's the whole conversation. So I
Got a
want
lot
to
to
get
got a lot to say on that subject.
I'm gonna invite I want to invite my coach. I want to invite my coach, my extreme execution coach, to the call next time, and we can have that talk. Oh man, we can have a talk about esteem and identity. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Especially
looking forward.
if they are open to like, of course if they got some information to offer on that, we want to hear. But if they open to taking questions as well,
Oh
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. No, we do this. We do this every day, and I
Yeah.
mean,
I got some
iron
questions for them.
sharpening. Definitely,
Yeah.
you
definitely. Oh yeah,
got that.
I'm gonna hit them up.
Look at your eyes, child.
Make sure that we can get them on.
So
Yeah,
that's what we talking about next time. Then we going into we still always talking about entrepreneurship, always talking about business, but how you see yourself matters, and that's what we talking about next time. You think that's a good way to put that? Because how we talking about how
perfect,
you see yourself?
perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. I think
absolutely.
in a couple last time we got together, you asked us about
That's one of the
how do
things
we
we talked
see
about.
ourselves in relation to these undercover billionaires, right? Like, do we see us being able to do that?
Yeah,
And now let's dig a little deeper into it. How do we see ourselves?
yep.
I love it.
some sleep.
So we will be back in 2 weeks, and we will see y'all. And
Side
we
note:
appreciate the family. We appreciate
people in
y'all.
the community are saying we need to get this on a platform, right? YouTube or something. So, my Jita.
I uploaded all the videos to YouTube.
Oh, you did.
I don't know if I upload them to our channel, but they're on my page. They're
All
on my
right.
channel. I
Yeah.
did. I did
I'm
do
glad.
that this week. I uploaded like 22 videos,
Okay. Okay.
24 videos to YouTube.
But you put
I
it
just
on Majida Bay channel, not S.E.A.R Mastermind, or you don't know.
I put it on Ronnie Bay Enterprises channel.
Gotcha. I totally agree with that. I've been saying that for a while. We definitely need to get on a platform where we can attract an audience,
and,
basically find,
and,
attract,
and
and build and nurture
I
an audience.
have a point of contact actually through our accountability calls. A guy by the name of David Hill who used to work for Google, and he's like, he does a segment down on the calls called Life Hacks with David because he knows like all the hacks, if you will. He helped a young lady on the call get like 5,000 views in a matter of I don't know a few hours or a few days, because he understands the language, you know. So that's association.
Yep.
He's willing to help. Like he's just one of those guys who's been able to have a certain level of success in his life, and now he's because of what he's gained from the community. Now wants to just help others. Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming.
All right. Well, I think she's speaking. I definitely want to meet this David though.
Yeah, definitely.
You do that.
Cool.
So we will see y'all in 2 weeks, family.
Yes. Er.
Hey,
Have a good night.
stay warm.